Now, if you guys are, you guys can actually, if you're on Facebook, you can share immediately onto your page right now if you're able to do that. Let me see if we're live.
I couldn't tag you earlier. I don't know what was happening with this.
I know, I was tagging too. Okay, yep, we are live. Let me edit.
What are you on her page, right?
All this, like, I should be able to tag you too. Let's see, Elena and Alejandro.
You're popular. Oh, it looks like you requested me.
Did I?
You're live, my love. You're live. We're live on Facebook. Live? Yes.
We're live.
We're live. And Sharnael gave us a homework assignment to share. So we're sharing. We're being very obedient at the moment.
Yes, we are live for you guys who are here. I hope that you guys will start sharing this while you guys are popping on. I'd love to hear where you're from, what city, what state. Start sharing on your page so we can get everybody up here. Hey, Nancy. Hi, Rose. We're here. I'm just got a little technical thing real quick, and then we will be going on with the show. Ollie, I gotta spell this right. I think I got it. Where are you, Alejandro? I was going to tag you, but I might have to just do it after because I'm not seeing it yet. Awesome. Well, super excited. These are some cool new friends of mine that I have, I guess it was maybe 6 months ago or so, around that time, that I found out about you guys and your work. Oh, by the way, my name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton. I'm a Spitfire. Sorry. I'm kind of getting back into the swing of things. It's been 3 weeks since I've been on a live, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot all about this technology stuff and all the little things. But we're here with Alejandro Fernandez. Did I say it? Ferradas.
Yes.
And Elena Bensoff. Bensonoff. And they are with holistic vibration. They do holistic vibrations. They do scalar waves. You guys have seen all my videos. I'm a little fangirl of their work. And, you know, I'm always dropping scalar waves here and there on different things that I get to find out. I'm a geek. I like science. I love sharing truth. I love knowing, you know, like just the geeky stuff. You know, I do biofeedback for my clients, and you know, Elena's background is actually a medical background, and she worked in pharmacy, and so she's got that bend. She's got the science thing going on too, and their partnership is so beautiful and sweet, and they just really work each other. Like, it's funny. You guys are cute to watch. Your banter and everything. But tell us a little bit about yourself, because I know there's going to be a lot of people on here who this is their first time to see you and to meet you. And I'll share a little bit about my testimony and, you know, my first viewing of what I saw with you guys. But I want them to hear from you. So tell us a little bit about
Thank you so much, Sharnael, for your warm introduction and the excitement and the enthusiasm. And just like you, I am a science geek. I came from a background of working in the pharmacy. I'm still a licensed pharmacist in the state of Florida. I have 2 medical licenses. I'm board certified in functional medicine. I studied Ayurvedic medicine and then transitioned slowly into frequency energy medicine, because I recognized, of course, throughout the years, not only that everything is connected, but the root cause of all the medical conditions stems from unprocessed emotions. And through the research and digging deeper, we of course have studied different ways of testing through scalar waves and different technologies that we've applied in the past. And it was actually experimental work that brought us into testing vibrational frequency. And this is the part that you've been so excited about. And this is the part that I know you'll be sharing. Initially, it was never our intent to go public and share this information with people. We began to test things Because we were curious, because we felt there was a big discrepancy between the information that was coming through the media, whether it was the big media outlets or smaller media companies, right? Alternative media or just regular media. And we felt that there was a discrepancy, and we thought, well, let's just test and see, apply the scalar waves and test the frequencies of everything. So initially it was a curious project that was birthed simply out of curiosity. We tested thousands of people, places, cities, sacred sites, as you've actually seen us do the show on sacred sites. And we began to see a pattern emerging. And not only that, we recognized that every human being is so much more than just that one frequency number in time and space. And our frequency, which is based on different emotions and different levels of consciousness, fluctuates throughout our life. And this is something that you've experienced in your lifetime reading. And every human being experiences fear, love, peace, joy. And every human being throughout our frequency readings, we recognize matters, whether they're playing their role in the shadow, as we call it, the shadow, or the light, because it's all of us that contributes to the whole collective experience. So in our teachings, we honor every single person that we reveal, whether it's public, private, some of the private readings that we do, historical figures, and it's made our lives so much more beautiful, joyful, and it also has helped us actually in this challenging time over the last year and a half to become very neutral and not attached to any of the stories, any of the narratives, any of the outcomes, but really come from a place of peace and recognition of everything that is.
Mm-hmm. Yes, wonderful. Beautifully said. I am Alejandro Ferradas, and I endorse this message.
Yeah, I talk a lot sometimes.
Yeah,
sometimes
no,
it is too.
I am just an energy being in a modern body with a futuristic mind.
With a new haircut.
A new haircut, yes. Thank you so much. I'm showing off my beautiful forehead tonight.
Yes, awesome. So tell us about, how did you get here? I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know.
Yes. Me? How did I get here?
Yeah, I know how you got here.
Swimming across the border. I had to run for a few miles too, but just kidding. I came in an airplane, but I was always fascinated by numbers, really, and I felt that there was something more beyond just an equation or a formula, right? That one can memorize and apply to find a solution. And I decided to study science of economics, right? So I was in the finance world for many years, and but really always searching for a deeper meaning of numbers. And I was curious about numerology, and that's where everything began. Open a little window there, but now it was like a totally different world. It is a totally different world, really, unlimited possibilities. And it is our curiosity paired with our imagination.
Yes.
And just the conviction that we are more than just, this body, that we're not limited by this body. That's what has helped us to really become the consciousness explorers that we are at the moment. And we're just very excited to share what we are learning, right? And finding.
So we never try to position ourselves as teachers. I would say that we are students and we're all learning together.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we believe that everyone is a student and a teacher at the same time, right?
That's true. All coaching is self-coaching. And I consider myself an eternal student. I think Elena and I are so much alike. And I think in many ways, like, just, she comes across as this person who's always learning. And even when I got my results back, instantly I was like, okay, I had a little problem with this one part. I'm like, well, there's got to be a book about how to make it better. And I was like instantly going into studying and learning and just that's what it's about, is all of us being able to remember the full highest potential that each of us have. And then as a collective, what can that do to the planet, as we're more in tune to not just knowing for judgment purposes, like you guys mentioned, but knowing so we can play our role to our best and highest in this like simulation or whatever it is that we're doing in this ginormous experiment. But I wrote a book called The Science of Miracles, and so I've been studying quantum physics and neuroscience and the biofield for I don't know, 2 decades. And that's been my focus, is teaching and just how to remember source code on the DNA level, to express that out of the body, your mind, body, spirit, that whole integrity piece of being integrated and to the highest, and sending that out so we can get a match back in. And what you guys are doing has brought such a peace and a piece, play on words, for me, because I can say wholeheartedly, when you guys test, you're testing the field, you're testing the person, there's an IP address, whether it's a person or a name or whatever the situation, and you test on different categories, whether it's like their connection to God, their connection to their purpose, their connection to money, to people, relationships. There's all these, you'll see, we're about to do a couple examples here today, but just for the sake of people watching, my first introduction was one that you and Sasha had done. You were on Sasha Stone's show, who is a dear person I love, and he's been on our show a few times. And you were actually doing some, I don't remember who sent me the link, but it was about it was called Witches and Warlocks. And I was thinking, why is someone sending this to me? I get bombarded just like everybody with, here, watch this, whatever, especially in this last year. It's been like a million times more. But, by the title, I was like, So, but it was Sasha, and I had not seen you guys before, but I watched it. And right at the beginning, your first person that you were picking to do this scan on was Joan of Arc. And I am like, oh my God, she's my lady. You can't see, but I have a big stained glass window of her in my office that she's just someone that I really adore. And the fact that you guys could track, even in her field, the resonance of code in her timeline of knowing, like, she incarnated at 500, which is love. And then she dropped down at birth to 100, which is fear. And then she, anyway, so you'll explain the numbers and everything, but that was it for me. I was like, oh my God, I'm geeking out. You have, what I really enjoyed and still enjoy is in this particular episode, you were actually proving that there are people who may be looked at, like you said, the media can be misinformation. People can have misinformation, or people can be seen in a different light of what they really are based on who they, based on just talk or ideas or what people want to slander someone or whatever. So in this episode, people were called witches, and yet here they were saints. They were high vibrational people and beings of light. And I think it was like Notre Dame and Joan of Arc. And then you did some kind of dark shadows, Aleister Crowley, and I'm trying to remember that lady, my friends, Christina.
The Salem witch hunts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Christina Jane, her aunt and uncle were killed. And so, that was a whole nother thing, which she has lived with her family, even on their tombstone, and said that they were witches and warlocks, and they tested back as saints, saint level, high level numbers, 700s, 800s. I choose to remember, but And so for her, when I told her, I don't even remember, it was passing. I was like, oh, you got to watch the show, blah, blah, blah. She's like, oh, that's so interesting because my uncle and aunt were burned at this, whatever, pressed. The uncle was pressed by waves. I was like, that is weird because that's the exact thing. I mean, how many people can that happen to? And, and it turns out it was her uncle. You guys had tested her uncle and aunt, which...
Wow.
So that was like, I was hooked, and I got my own reading, and there's a membership you guys can get to follow all these different people that they have a library of different people, whether it's politics or authors or musicians and artists and, just celebrities. And, here's the part that I'm just going to say this and I'll be quiet, but there's some friends of mine who were sending me a certain link to a person over and over and again. And they were just like, listen to her, oh my gosh, she's so, and I couldn't, it just didn't do anything for me. Matter of fact, it was just like, I kind of felt like yucky about it. And oh no, but just, you didn't go far enough, go to the 20th mark on the timeline and then things get bad, so I did all the things and then there was multiple ones and I just said, please stop sending me anything about this. I just don't resonate. And, this is probably 3 or 4 months before I found you guys. Well, fast forward, after I found you guys, I was sleeping and I woke up because I heard my mouth said out loud, I just don't resonate. I just don't vibe with her. And I was dreaming about telling this person the same thing that happened in the physical, that she just doesn't resonate. But it woke me up and I sat up and I had my iPad next to my bed and I was like, I don't know why. It just came to me like, maybe you guys tested this person. And sure enough, I go in the library and I tested, I watched you guys do your episode and she happened to be one of the people and our numbers were completely different. Now, not right or wrong, but literally she did not resonate with me and my numbers, which again, not right or wrong, but it was just like, to me, that was like just another level of like, wow, that's why when we go somewhere, we, if we're paying attention, we can feel. And so, yeah, I got my own numbers done and I cried through the whole thing because, there were some things on there that I had always thought I was just a total idiot and a dummy because my sister is like really, really smart. And, here I get all these numbers that were, positive about, and I didn't even realize how much it was until I started listening to everybody else's numbers. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not as dumb as I thought I was. So I was like, this is kind of cool. And I felt like my confidence level increased, but also the more I study and listen to the people that you guys are reading, it also boosts my confidence in my intuitive gift of knowing, oh, yeah, I kind of felt like maybe they're a little off or not as, not where I am or just on a different page. Again, no judgment, but now in life, I'm paying attention to that feeling. Oh, I remember I had that feeling when we were looking at this person. It's like, I can relate. And it's going across the board. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's just given me like a strength and a courage to trust God and me and my own antenna, my receptors, and to also definitely pay more attention to who I am and what I am presenting and who, at the core level of integrity and honesty and love and peace, because that's going in my field. And I would love for anyone who comes into my field to feel ignited to Christ consciousness and to feel love, to feel appreciation, to walk away with a transference of something that's like, wow, I really had fun with her. She's just cool, or just, not because of me, but because of God and me, who is love, and being able to tap into and remember that part that's in our DNA already when we're activated to it. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes.
So I absolutely love your work. I have all my friends in your group. And I'm going to put a link up for you guys to join. I hope you guys all I think everyone should do this. And they do weekly reveals. And they actually have turned it into like a schooling a little bit, because beforehand they'll go, okay, I want you to test yourself. I want you to put it out there and like log where you think people are going to be based on what your gut and what you're, so we're training. This is training. And what a more important time to have discernment and to really know in your knower, like what is the truth and what is authentic. Because there's a frequency to authenticity. There's a frequency to truth. And we can tune into that. And at this time, it's never been, I don't think it's ever been so important. I mean, what do you guys say about that?
Do you want to go? Sure. I would say, actually, Sharnael, everything that you just shared. Oh, there's an echo, by the way. I hear my own echo.
Do you have your Facebook page open?
No.
Okay. Is it still there?
No, not anymore.
Okay, good.
Okay, sorry. Now, I wanted to say, actually, everything that you just shared is so on point, and it is our intent, is to help people, to guide people to recognize their own ability to trust themselves, because that is really our message. It's really a message of empowering people to recognize how beautiful they are, what is truly possible for the human experience, and also know that the numbers that you have, this is not your ceiling. We're all limitless, and the divine flow, the divine is within each and every one of us. So really our message is to bring joy, to bring peace, clarity, and of course, boost your intuition. I think this is a must, because it is our innate compass that we can fine tune, because it is that piece that helps us navigate with much more clarity and ease in life. Mm-hmm. So yes, whether you're making decisions in your business or in social circumstances or navigating family, because right now what we also recognize is there's been a lot of challenging moments in the last year and a half for families. There's a lot of divide that's happening. But the one thing we'll say is, when you recognize where you stand and you understand your own frequencies, I would say it gives you a bigger lens of loving your family members even more, because it's not about changing those that don't agree with you, right? Because family, we can't always choose. But having the respect, the compassion, appreciation, but at the same time also understanding that you can build boundaries and honor yourself. So it's always about honoring you, right? And having the compassion to love those around you, and not necessarily not have the love that is conditional based on the belief systems, because this is the is creating further separation amongst human beings. Mm-hmm. And right now it's all about coming together. And for those of us that are in the certain frequencies, let's say above 200, right? The frequency of courage and higher, you have much more power in understanding yourself and realizing that you are connected to everything else. So there is less resistance and less unprocessed emotions, I would say. So therefore, you have much more ability to recognize how we're all connected. And the more we come together from a place of love, then it's easier for the humanity's collective to shift to a higher frequency that you were speaking of in the very beginning.
So tell everyone the categories, just so we know.
Yes. So we break it down for public readings. We break it down into two parts. Part one is the scale of consciousness. And we break it down into, of course, frequencies from 0 to 1,000, 1,000 being a fully integrated experience for a human being. 0 being, I would say, I call it more of a zero point field, right? Where everything gets recycled, transmuted. 1 being the frequency of destruction. And then, of course, it goes from shame, guilt, apathy, grief, anger, right? Fear, pride, courage, neutrality, willingness at 310. Of course, we can cover all the frequencies and so forth and so on. So 500 being the love frequency, 540 joy, 600 peace, 700 to 1,000 is the enlightenment phase. So that's part one, and we cover and we test how a person incarnates, because there's absolutely, in most cases, a difference of how a person incarnates and then the moment that they're born. And we notice there's definitely a shift that occurs, a frequency drop in most cases, not all cases, but in most cases, there are drops that occur when a woman is pregnant with a baby. The emotions and the environment that she is experiencing is contributing to the baby's drop. And it becomes, for that baby, the human experience and part of the human emotions that that baby takes upon, right? And it becomes part of, in a way, karmic cycle of kind of the different things that a child and then a grown-up is going to experience. And then we test the overall frequency of where the person is at that very moment of when they're requesting the testing, or if it's a historical figure, overall frequency at that time. Then we look at the frequency of health, body, mind, and soul connection. Again, it's not an indication of how healthy or unhealthy somebody is. It's more of how do they view that aspect of their life. Then we look at finances, how they view the aspect of finances. And it's interesting because we've noticed that sometimes there are people that have an area of finances at 100, which is the fear frequency, unprocessed emotion of fear. But it's also seen in some people who are extremely successful, financially successful, because sometimes it's that unprocessed emotion and fear of failure that drives people to success.
Oh,
So
wow.
again, it's all about releasing that unprocessed emotion, and knowing where you stand, of course, helps overcome that. Then we look at creativity, relationships area, how you relate to others and yourself, personal growth, philanthropy, intuition. And now we started testing different aspects of intuition, because we also recognize it's not just that one number. We look at clairvoyance, clairaudience, claircognizance, and clairsentience, and we'll go through that today with you. Mm-hmm. And then part two, Alejandro talks about different percentages from 0 to 100%. Mm-hmm. So do you want to talk about percentages briefly? Which aspects we look at?
Yes. When it comes to the numbers, just to add a little bit to that, it's all about the feeling. And the better we feel when it comes to our perspective of life, right? The less amount of resistance we're experiencing, and the higher the number when it comes to the level of consciousness that we're experiencing, right? When it comes to each aspect as well, the better we feel towards our relationship with that particular aspect, the lower the amount of resistance that we're experiencing, and the more moments of flow that we're experiencing as well, right? For someone that is having 100 under the aspect of finances, as Elena pointed out, and is someone that is extremely wealthy, once they begin to release that resistance and their numbers start to rise, then it not necessarily means that they're going to be making or going from millions to billions, but they will experience more joy and more moments of being in the flow, and that always. We say that the purpose of life is really joy, is to enjoy the journey, right? And the role that we're playing in this reality. Now, we go into percentages because you could be experiencing all sorts of emotions when it comes to in the joy, one of the categories, in the ego, as of how much we pay attention to the ego, those thoughts that bring resistance and tend to pull us away from the present moment. In the now, or in the present moment, integrity, self-awareness, clarity, also alignment with divine purpose and alignment with personal purpose. Divine purpose, we compare that to self-realization, and personal purpose, we compare that to self-actualization, right? Then also we measure compassion, empathy, and if the person is still with us in the physical world, we also measure energy purity. It's a great indicator that tells us how ready the person is to experience a higher level of consciousness, to transcend to a higher level of consciousness, right? And out of all the categories I mentioned, with the exception of in the ego, we want to be as close as possible to the 100% mark. right? Then we have also incorporated dimensions.
Yes, people kept asking us, can you measure the dimensions?
Because, the fifth dimension is
a hot topic at the moment.
The new trend, right? So we can also reveal as of how much time is that person experiencing life on the fifth dimension, right? And the latest is the intuition. That I'm very excited about, the new category that we have added just a few days ago. So yes, it's expanding as we're
growing and becoming, we're always curious. So as we're acquiring more knowledge, and we're always listening to our community, because it's always a mutual, beautiful exchange. So as people are giving us more questions, we're expanding and our testing, and therefore bringing more clarity to us and to, of course, all of our members, our friends, and those that really enjoy this information.
Yes, and I'll say too, there's been a couple people who've been like, oh, isn't this judgmental? And why are you looking at numbers and da 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 da? And for me, whether you like it or not, people are looking at numbers all the time, whether it's your income, your height, your weight. I mean, we're just without even trying, your subconscious, your reticular activated system, everything is looking at, all of it, and then of course we can, if it's a job situation, it could be an IQ or how you scored on a certain test. I mean, so we're not judging about a weight or a height or whatever, but we're still observing it and seeing it. So it's about looking without having the judgment. It's looking to learn, looking to help, looking to serve, looking to just know. And I think it's important for all of us to know about ourselves. I think everyone should get tested, because it can give you some insight to some things that maybe you didn't realize were there, number one, but also it could give you more confidence to remember and know that you are already there. And maybe you just didn't even have the confidence to know you were there. So I kind of looked at it on both sides, but I would love for you guys to speak into that a little bit.
Yes, I think that as long as we take it as is, which frequencies are, and they tell the story, we can describe the frequencies that we read using the scale of consciousness that Dr. Hawkins created as a point of reference, right? He used kinesiology, we use a scalar wave technology, and it is what it is, really. Once we try to change it to fit our box and to fit our perception, then is when judgment takes place, right? Otherwise, it is extremely powerful to know where one stands and to recognize how much you have overcome, and also that anything is possible, and that we're really unlimited, right? It's only by bringing judgment into the equation is that we limit ourselves, and by thinking that that if we honor our divine essence, which is God's essence within us, and many people think that by doing that you are ignoring or disrespecting God, but it's actually the opposite. It's the more you honor yourself and you recognize that energy resides within you, and therefore, if that energy is unlimited, therefore you are unlimited as well, right? And then by doing that, by default, you're honoring God's presence within you. Right?
Another thing I wanted to say, every one of our members, when people join, they recognize there is no judgment. And people say, wow, you've just gave me wings to fly. You brought peace and freedom to my being, because I recognize that I have been judgmental. But this is such a sacred and beautiful space. I'm sure, Sharnael, you've joined us. You've heard people, you've seen people write and comment that. And I'll say this, reading people privately brings tears to our eyes every single time, just like you cry. it does the same thing to us because it's an honor. And we see the beauty of every human being that we read. And every story, every journey, we call it the hero's journey because it is so beautiful. And what somebody has to overcome if they're at a frequency of 100 is remarkable and inspiring. And in our community, we have members who are openly sharing this information. After their readings, they felt so inspired to share because they knew that they can help others. And that is the part that allows people to grow. When you stop judging yourself, you no longer will judge others. You just recognize, as Alejandro said, everything is just as is. And another thing is, from a medical perspective, most people go in get their blood work done to know where they stand. Where's my cholesterol? How about my blood sugar, right? Where my liver numbers are. So the thing is, this kind of testing will give you an insight of where you stand and how far you want to go. So if you get your blood test and let's say you have high cholesterol, well, maybe you want to do something about it. Or maybe you have high glucose, I don't know, at 120. You don't want to take medicine, but there's something you can do from a dietary and lifestyle perspective. So this is kind of the same thing.
Yes, gives you a clear picture of which aspect needs more nurturing.
Yes.
And where you can, once you identify the resistance, then you can focus your attention towards that aspect to enhance the flow of consciousness and experience a greater feeling as for whatever feeling it is you're experiencing at the moment.
The other thing I know we recognize, people say, well, why did you start reading these public figures? Well, public figures serve an incredible purpose. That's why they're public figures.
Powerful ones.
Very powerful, yes, because most human beings tend to put other people on a pedestal. Oh, so-and-so is this, so they must be untouchable. But we're making it to where you recognize everyone is the same. The fabric of what makes a famous public person is that very same fabric that makes you who you are. So it's not necessarily about worshiping someone else and putting somebody else on a pedestal, but really honoring you and recognizing that you have the exact same frequencies within you. And that's the beauty of it.
Yes, and you guys have actually tested Jesus Christ and some of the great spiritual leaders. You've tested off-planet aliens. Just share a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
Mary Magdalene, too.
Mary Magdalene?
Yes, we did a couple of what we call avatars. We call them avatars because they're fully integrated beings. And of course, they came in at a frequency of 1,000, born at a frequency of 1,000, and their overall frequency was 1,000. Both Mary Magdalene and Yahshua were identical frequencies. So that was a really beautiful confirmation for us when we were testing. Off planet, some of the beings that we've tested, of course, we've done a show on aliens, right? And that was an interesting discovery for us. I was like, oh, okay, we're galactic archaeologists now, But it's fun. So we recognize there's all these incredible higher frequencies, higher beings, that are in frequencies of thousands. And then there are those that are in lower frequencies of like 20. So whatever we're experiencing on Earth, everything, what it made us realize even more and reinforce that everything exists in fractals. So the micro and the macrocosm is always continuous. So whatever we're feeling here, just know it's everywhere else as well. And everything can be measured. The past, present, and future all resides in the now. And this is why it's important to be present and be connected to this very moment, to each and every moment of our lives.
Awesome. Well, and I know you've even done places, you've done organizations, some of the ABC organizations and different religions, followers of those religions. You guys, everybody should jump in on this, and it's quite an exploration to hear some of this feedback on these numbers, and just kind of, because I don't know about you, but have you ever went somewhere and you kind of felt creepy about being in a place or even about an organization. And it's just like, pay attention again to the feelings that we feel. We're big antennas, and we're not only sending out all kinds of things in code, but we're also receivers. And so it goes both ways. And we're going to do 2 or 3 people here today. And I'm excited to hear these results of what you have and who you have. And let's give these guys some examples of some of the work that you're doing. I'd love to hear it.
Yes. Would you like to start?
Ladies first.
Ladies first. All right. So I wanted to bring in Rumi. We actually did an episode this past Tuesday on a lot of different poets and writers. And Rumi came up. Of course, he's, I'm sure, millions of people's favorite. And the numbers were just so beautiful. And, Sharnael gave us a list of people she wanted to reveal. I said, let's just include Rumi too. All right. So Rumi was a Persian 13th century poet. He was incarnated at a frequency of 750, which is a frequency of enlightenment. So he came as an enlightened being.
Wow.
He was born at the frequency of 700, enlightened. And sometimes there is a drop that occurs, right? And then his overall frequency throughout his life, right, was 750, which is the frequency of enlightenment. He viewed his health through the frequency of 850, which is the frequency of enlightenment.
Wow.
Finances he viewed through the lens of 700, enlightenment. Creativity. This is the beautiful part that I'm just so excited to share. We've seen it in quite a few, actually, very big artists. Leonardo da Vinci was one of them. Of course, Rumi, and there's a couple of others that we shared in our past episode. But his creativity, and I always say, creativity is inspiration in action. What inspires you, and how do you act from that place? And just know that every single one of you, every single human being is creative. So in the case of Rumi, his creativity was at 1,000. So fully integrated. Absolutely, he was bringing in, channeling this incredibly divine information. And it came through so beautifully in his writings. I mean, to this day, you see posts people are sharing by Rumi, right? All the magical poems. Relationships. He viewed relationships through the frequency of 600, which is peace. Personal growth. He viewed anything, or that aspect of his life, personal growth, at a frequency of 1,000. So he was fully committed to his personal enlightenment, and he came as an enlightened being. Philanthropy is the art of sharing and giving. And in Rumi's case, his philanthropy was at 750. Again, enlightenment. Intuition. Usually intuition is how much do you trust your inner guidance? Fully. And in Rumi's case, his intuition was at a frequency of 1,000. Just absolutely divine channel of information. That was just, he trusted it. And then, of course, we tested the 4 aspects. Clairaudience. Clairaudience is how you receive messages through hearing, whether it's a voice, external voice, or it's a voice within you. So in his case, it was a frequency of 1,000. Clairvoyance is receiving messages through seeing, visual seeing. And in his case, it was again 1,000. Claircognizance is the knowing, the inner knowing. And for him, it was 1,000. Clairsentience is feeling, right? Sometimes you get goosebumps, right? And it gives you that feeling of, this is it, right? So in his case, it was 1,000. So he was truly remarkable. He experienced joy, or how much he enjoyed his role, 97%. He was in his ego. And just keep in mind, we've tested so many people. Ego, as we say, is an important ingredient. It creates contrast in the human experience. We haven't tested one being that didn't have any ego. And in fact, Yeshua had a ego at 17%. Okay, just to kind of keep it in the perspective. Most humans we test, the ego is in the 90s. So in Rumi's case, the ego was 66%. And we test usually the inferior and superior ego, right? And in his case, they were equal. So he was very well balanced, 50-50. He was in the now, fully connected to himself, to the present moment, 100%. He was in his integrity. And we say integrity is how loyal and faithful you are to your core values and beliefs. So in Rumi's case, it was 100%. So he was an enlightened being, fully in his integrity. His self-awareness was 99%. So that means how aware he was of his inner and outer world. His clarity was 100%. His alignment with divine purpose, that means how well he was playing his divine role that he came here to play, 100% aligned. And his alignment with personal purpose was 100%. So from a human perspective, he fulfilled his mission, and also from a divine perspective. And his compassion, of course, we measured compassion 100%. So inspiring. I just, when we read these numbers, I had tears, just beautiful. Oh, and then we measured his book. Of course, I have to share his book. So we did measure one body of his work. And it's a book by Rumi, The Essential. And the frequency of that book is 900. So enlightened. Wow. It's just beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. And just so those you guys watching, that these numbers are really, really high for normal. Like this is not the average at all. So these are the highest I've ever seen.
Yes.
Except for Jesus. I mean, these are very high. Would you compare them to anybody else?
We actually did a reading. Well, this Tuesday's episode that we aired was, we had quite a few. Hafiz was very high. Mm-hmm. Hafiz, Lao Tzu, yes. Remarkable. He found the Taoism, right? The teachings of Taoism. He also was extremely high. So there's a couple that had really high numbers. And then throughout our episodes, you've seen something that we found that was very interesting. A very interesting case study is the artists and musicians. Of course, we did Vivaldi, Beethoven, right? Bach, Mozart. And then we did Chopin, Van Gogh, as far as artists, Leonardo da Vinci. So we have all these different episodes, and we've noticed they all had something very in common. Even though they've experienced life throughout different frequencies, they had something that was very profound, and that's the frequency, high frequencies in creativity and high frequencies in intuition. So there's definitely patterns in people, and of course, each and every one of them expressed their own unique personality, right? In such a beautiful way. And we also were touched in many ways because Van Gogh didn't have very high numbers. But, you're still touched. If you look at his art, it's so beautiful. And you can see that the frequency of his creativity and intuition is all channeled into that. So he had his human aspects, struggles in life, right, with depression and all kinds of health issues. And then he had these divine aspects that he was embodying so beautifully. Actually, most of them did, and brought so much to humanity to this very day to be able to enjoy it, to go to an art museum. Of course, many museums are closed now, but to be able to even pull up the pieces of art and know this is Monet's garden.
And feel it. Actually feel it, yeah.
Yes, or turn on music and listen to Vivaldi's. We measured frequencies of Vivaldi's 4 Seasons, or Beethoven's, or Mozart. So everything is energy. Everything transmits frequencies, and it's really about, yes, Rumi's frequencies are very unusual. That's right, because they're very high. But also, when you listen to other episodes, it makes you appreciate the human journey of what it takes, and also recognition that somebody at a frequency, let's say of 100, 125 with addiction patterns also has served their role really well from a divine perspective, if that is the role they chose to play out in this lifetime.
Yeah, and I've seen too where you showed that they can be in their personal purpose, but not in their divine purpose. So there was a higher call, but their will wouldn't go there, or didn't choose to go there. So I always found that interesting too. But yes. So who's next? I want.
Yes. Neville Goddard.
Oh my
Neville Goddard.
Yeah. Neville Goddard. So
an American
Yeah,
author.
we have two foreigners trying to pronounce
You know,
his
actually,
name.
we measured that book.
Yes.
To the frequency of
My
that book.
favorite book. I love this book. So one of my favorites. But go ahead.
Vibrates at the frequency of 400, which is reason, high intellect,
Very.
Oh, wow.
awakened imagination. Yes,
Ha.
awakened imagination. I like the title. Yes, so he's an American author, right? Yes, and apparently from the 1900s, and he wrote things about the Bible, if I'm not mistaken, right?
He used a lot of scripture for quantum physics purposes, yes. And
Mystic.
did a lot of outcome ideas of creativity and using your God power to create your life instead of just sit back and let things happen to us.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think he wrote about awareness as well, if I can remember correctly, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, he incarnated at the frequency of 400, which is the level of reason, high intellect, right? He was born at the frequency of 200, which is the level of courage. So he was definitely impacted by whatever his mother was experiencing at the time, right? And that caused the drop that he experienced at birth, from going from 400 to 200. His overall frequency is 400. So he was able to reach his home base, we'll call it, because he incarnated at 400. His overall frequency was 400. Now, when it comes to health, he viewed health through the lens of reason, high intellect, at 400. Finances, 525.
Wow.
He had a loving relationship with the aspect of finances. Creativity at 540. That is the level of joy, right? Relationships, 110. That is a level of fear. There was a fear element there, creating resistance. Personal growth, 400, the level of reason. Philanthropy, 250. That is the level of neutrality. And intuition, 110.
Wow.
Exactly the same as his relationships. There was an element of fear. And this is, of course, is not how intuitive the person is, but actually how much they trust it, for themselves, to apply what is coming through them, right? Whatever it is they're channeling or the messages that they're receiving. Now, within the intuition, we also measured clairaudience, and it's at 400. Clairvoyance, 100. Claircognizance, 200. And clairsentience at 100. In the joy, as of how much he was enjoying his role, is at 87%.
It's really good.
Yes, in the ego, 89%. And out of that 89%, 84% of that represented the inferior version of the ego. In the now, 76%. In his integrity, 92%. Self-awareness, 85%. Clarity, 91%. And his alignment with his divine purpose and personal purpose, both at 95%.
Pretty good. He was close
on
to
track.
Full alignment, yes.
Yeah. Compassion, 98%. So he was a very compassionate person, right? Could relate to others on a heart-to-heart level. Empathy, 99%.
Wow.
Yes.
And his book, of course, is a very clear frequency representation of who he was as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Very often we find that the author's vibrational frequency is reflected in their work. Yeah.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Not in all cases, but yes. I mean, we read Shakespeare, right? We revealed Shakespeare on Tuesday.
On their work.
On their work, yes. And there was some things that were higher, and then, of course, we had somebody in our community that gave such a beautiful explanation. I love it when our members are giving their deeper insights, and then it creates more opening for us too. That's beautiful.
Mhm.
It's always a symbiotic experience.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
We know them. We're all one. Love it.
Yes. Yes. So I think that's it. We just did the 2. Do you have any questions for us?
No, one of the things that I wanted to bring up too was when there was a position of someone, I guess I'll just say that an example was Aleister Crowley. I found it interesting that they were in 100% of their divine role. So can you explain when someone is a dark shadow type situation, how in the world is that divine? At the same time.
Yes.
That was one of the major realizations for us, and that we had no idea
In the very beginning, when we started testing, we were like,
that
wow,
was the
like,
case.
what does that
Yes.
mean? And then the more we tested, we recognized that shadow players, we call them the shadow players. They're people who are playing at lower frequencies. They come in at the lower frequency. They're born at that frequency. And that is the role they're playing. And one of the examples I can give people, imagine from a divine place, let's say there's different actors trying out for a role of Batman and Joker. The Batman actor is going to embody and play the role, right, of the light. And the Joker, the actor that's going to play out the Joker, is going to play the role in the shadow. So from a divine place, both actors most likely are just great characters, but they're embodying their role. So you as a viewer who's watching it can experience the contrast of what it is to have the shadow, right, the villain, and the hero. So if we're looking at life as a divine play, in order for the light to expand, in order for there to be a contrast, in order for all of us to experience different colors in the array of colors, right? If everything was light and white, you could never experience red, green, blue, right? Orange, whatever it might be. So shadow, what we recognize is shadow plays a very important role. And yes, there's absolute shadow players who are 100% in their divine role, and we call those players Oscar nominees. So they're very clearly,
Yes.
absolutely in the full alignment, the full divine alignment of what came here to do. So it doesn't mean that you have to play with them if that's not what you're here to do. If you honor and recognize you're here to be fully in your light, just know that the shadow players are 100% in their integrity. They're loyal to their cause. They're completely in their alignment. And I would say this is an invitation for all of you who are playing a role in the light to stand fully in your light.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes, I love that. So, well, I don't know what's going on with the internet, but it keeps on blinking out. And you guys seen it pop on and pop off, or is it just me? I hope it's not doing that for everybody else, but it keeps kind of blinking a little bit.
Yes.
Well, I'm just, I think that looking at these 2 specifically today, want to give everyone a real taste, because actually both of these people scored really, really high. Oh, well, Rumi's so much higher, so this guy really sucks. Or, not really, but I'm just saying, a lot of the people in your library of people, they're like 55 across the board in or 50 or 20 or 30 out of 1,000. So just to give you an idea, when you're seeing numbers like 500 in this category and 600 here and 700 there, actually amazing, considering there are so many that are scoring like 20 out of 1,000 and 7 out of 1,000 and 10, like Hitler and some of the politicians that we've done and some others that, again, it's not right or wrong. It just, I guess they picked that role, or they were sent for that role, and they embodied it, and they actually enjoyed it. When you look at some of the categories of did they enjoy, it's shocking that they're 100% enjoying it too, which is like, wow, that's so scary,
Yes.
Anyway, I think when there is opposition or these key players in this experiment, then that's what causes the opportunity for growth and for us to look within, like you said, time to set better boundaries, time to get tougher. And I don't mean like be mean, but just to stand up for yourself, because love is keeping boundaries and maintaining boundaries and being your truth. And so I can understand and appreciate the contrast, but it was a little bit interesting when I first was seeing your work, going, wow, that's kind of scary. It's just, or maybe you're just so disconnected that that's become, their fun or something. I don't know. But do you have any last words before we finish off here tonight? I'm going to put all your links up so people can connect with you and maybe join the group or get their own testing and see where we're at. But any final words here tonight?
Wow, so much to say. I will say this. Stay in your light, honor yourself, and appreciate the journey that you're on, because everything, in most cases, what we've recognized is everything up until this point has gone right. Nothing has gone wrong.
So, everything happens in divine timing.
Yes.
Yes.
Even in the middle of where we're at now, there's opportunities for us to be light and love even more than ever before.
Exactly.
So let's be God in action and be in service and in love to everyone we can, because we get to. We get to.
Yes, it's all for the sake of the experience, and the purpose of life is joy. And just we have to. Everything begins with with us, right? And how we relate to the world is a reflection of how we relate to ourselves. So we first have to go inward and enhance that relationship with God's essence within us, so then we can see and perceive life through the eyes of divinity, or divine eyes, right?
Yes. Awesome. I always say everything's an inside job. It's not about fixing everyone or making everyone conform, but it's about working through the inside out and just being, So I honor you two so much, and I'm just so happy that you came into my life in this time and in this season, and that we get to experience all the beautiful things of your work together. And I hope you guys will find them on Facebook and find their links and continue the journey on your own through, just looking these guys up and seeing if that's a part of your journey, and how we can be our best selves in the process. And I look forward to, when's your next show? What do you have coming up?
Our next show is next Tuesday. And Tuesday, we're featuring one of our beautiful clients. So once in a while, we feature clients who have done readings with us. And then, of course, they have the courage to share it with others, to inspire others. I'm sure you've seen a couple of episodes where that was. So that's the episode, as we're featuring a very beautiful soul in our community. Yes.
Well, you two are beautiful. Check out their website. You also, please go to swiftfire.org. Get on the newsletter, because some of these platforms have been a little bit weird. I was in Facebook jail for like 3 weeks or something crazy. This is going to be the second video that'll be on YouTube later on tonight. So definitely, if you can get on the newsletter, then no matter where we are or what we have to do to move or what have you, we can always keep in touch. But love you guys so much.
Thank you.
Love you too. Thank you. I have tears in my eyes. This is beautiful.
Yes, I've been trying to get you on here for months, so I'm finally glad that we locked it in. And I know all you guys are feeling the love that are watching too. And I appreciate all of you guys who are watching. You guys add so much to my life and so much to this collective And I really feel positive about where we are on the planet, that we have a chance here to tip this into a different direction than where we're at. That it does take discipline, and it does take heart, and it does take commitment. And I like the word disciple, because discipline comes from disciple, and we get to, it takes action, it takes choice, and takes will. And if the intent is love, then we can do anything. I love what Alejandro says about the possibilities. There's endless possibilities. There's no limitations. In God, we can do everything, so let's tap into that and keep that timeline and see where we can go to our highest. All right.
Beautiful.
Thank
guys.
you.
No, I love you too. Good night.
All right, talk soon. Bye-bye.
Sure. Bye.
Bye.